Hi there everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Canadian Profits TV. My name is Dave Dubeau and welcome to episode 101. What have we got in store for you this week? Well, lots of good stuff. So for our business breakthrough, I'm going to be talking to you about how old and ugly takes the day. For our real estate tip, I'm going to be sharing something that I learned recently from Julie Broad, and that is a way of getting into your properties without needing the banks. And for our mindset minute, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my pet peeve about what it takes or how little it takes to get into the top 1% here in Canada. Stay tuned. Okay, so for today's business breakthrough, I want to share something that I was just reminded about from my good friend, marketing guru and insurance guy, Michael McLean. He's one of our contributing writers for Canadian Business Profits newsletter. Michael's a very, very, very sharp marketer, tests everything, and in case you don't remember, he is able to grow his very small town insurance agency, his dad's insurance agency, in a town of 6,000 people to where they have now, I believe, 8,000 customers. How do you get 8,000 customers in a town of 6,000 people? Well, you go outside of the town, obviously. So he's in Perth, Ontario. He sells insurance all across Ontario, including right in Toronto. Goes head to head against the big guys, the Geicos of the world, plus all the other bigger insurance companies, and kicks their butts. And what Michael reminded me of recently is the fact that he looked at what is his most effective marketing. And nowadays, everybody gets so infatuated with online stuff and videos and Facebook ads, all this kind of stuff. His best and most effective marketing continues to be old school direct mail. Not only just direct mail, but ugly looking direct mail. So it's not shiny, it's not polished, it's not, spick and span. It's pretty homely looking direct mail, but it works very, very well for him. So we're talking monthly client newsletters, direct mail out to prospects, all these kind of things that he does consistently month after month after month, and just bring them in phenomenal, phenomenal results. So you've seen a lot of this kind of stuff. If you've gotten any of my kind of marketing, direct response, direct mail, handwritten notes on yellow legal pads, that kind of thing. Might not look pretty, but it sure works. So that's your business breakthrough, is focus on what works, and basically old school, ugly marketing does work. Take care. All right, so for today's real estate tip, learn something new and very, very interesting from Julie Broad, who was our guest speaker at my recent R2O Profit Summit here in Kamloops a couple of weeks ago. And Julie was talking to us about raising money, so finding investors. She does something very, very different compared to what I do, and a lot of real estate investors who I know do as well, is that when she's trying to get a money partner on board, or when she's getting a money partner on board, she isn't looking for somebody who has just enough money to pay for the down payment for the property. She's looking for an investor partner who has enough money to buy the whole thing all cash. That's right, to buy the entire property all cash, plus whatever repairs or maintenance or whatever needs to be put into it as well. So that's, especially where she is on Vancouver Island, you're talking $300,000, $400,000 to buy a property. She gets investors to do this, and the reason behind her madness, her supposed madness, is the fact that, according to her, first of all, it's not as hard as we think it is to find investors with that kind of money. Plus, it simplifies the whole process so much. So instead of the investor having to come up with a down payment and then go through all of the qualification hassles of qualifying for a mortgage, they can skip all of that. And trust me, I know that's a big, big, big hassle to get all the paperwork. It's almost like pulling down your pants and showing everybody everything when it comes to your finances. A lot of people don't like to do that, especially investors. They can avoid all of that. They put up all of the cash. Julie and her partner, her husband, David, buy the property, manage the whole thing, get it fixed up, do whatever they're going to do with it. And then what they do is 2, 3, 4 months later, they refinance the property up to 80% loan to value, get their investor 80% of what they put into it back, They keep 20% in there as their equity, and that's what they work with moving ahead. So basically, the investor has to come up with all the cash for a short period of time. Very, very smart, very interested in finding out more about that strategy, but it's something that you can be thinking about too. That's your real estate tip for this week. All right, so for this week's Mindset Minute, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tear because I just watched something on the news recently that upset me yet encouraged me both at the same time. And I was watching the late night news, and they were talking about the big divide, the big gap between the haves and the have-nots in Canada. And of course, being the big media, they're vilifying the people that have money, the folks in the top 1%. And they were talking about how hard it was to get into that top 1%. And they said that the average income of people in the top 1% is $201,000 a year. Now, that took me back because in my mind, I always thought that to get into the top 1% in Canada, you had to make a hell of a lot more money than $201,000 a year. Now, don't get me wrong, $201,000 is a lot of money, but to get into the top 1% of the income population in the entire country seemed pretty low to me. Then they did the comparison, and here's what really got me. To get into the top 1% in the United States, so our neighbors to the south, the same folks that have been going through a supposed financial crash, stock markets have crashed, real estate markets have crashed, everything has gone to crap in the United States, according to what we see. Still, to get into their top 1%, you would have to be making $374,000 a year. That's almost double what it would cost to get into Canada's top 1%. So, first of all, that really ticked me off, that the bar is, relatively speaking, so low in Canada when we've had this image, this false image, if you ask me, of being better off financially than our neighbors to the south. It just kind of blew my mind. But then, on the other hand, it made me see that, hey, this is realistically, such an achievable goal for so many of us to get into that top 1%. I used to tell people, hey, try to get into the top 20, the top 10%. Forget that. All you have to do is make $201,000 a year and you're in the top 1%. So that, in my mind, should be our new base goal financially. That's your mindset tip for this week. All right, thank you very much for tuning in to this week's episode of Canadian Profits TV. Want to remind all the guys out there, this is Valentine's week. Valentine's Day is this week, so don't forget to send your sweetheart some flowers, chocolates, something like that. Trust me, guys, it doesn't go well when you forget that. Unfortunately, I'm on my own for this Valentine's Day. My lovely wife, Susie, is actually down in Costa Rica on a 7-week trip down there, so I'm going to miss my sweetheart this Valentine's Day, but rest assured we'll be in touch, that's for sure. What else we got coming up? Tomorrow, Tuesday, February the 12th, we are having a special webinar with our good friend Paul Blacquier, and it's called Financing All the Deals You Want with RRSP Mortgages. So again, financing all the deals you want with RRSP Mortgages tomorrow with Paul Blacquier. If you'd like to register for that, you can go to CanadianProfitsWebinar.ca or click on a banner, which is probably over to the right. So again, that's going to be a lot of fun. What else is coming up? Reminder, our Diamond Cruise is happening this March 30th through April the 6th, right in Easter break. All of our Diamond members, you're welcome to attend that with your friends, with your family. Love to have you all out there. I'm going down there with Susie and the kids. Ken Beaton and Joanne Beaton are coming down. We've got other people coming as well. Love to have you come along. Check it out at diamondcruise.ca. All right, thanks a lot. Have a great week. Talk to you next week.
Open Gangnam Style.